when these teams last met in week 9, if you'd have told me that in week 18 this game would have playoff implications for both teams, I would have called you absolutely crazy. Well, we're here. This is it. Playoff implications for both teams. Green Bay wins. They're in. Detroit's going to need a little bit of help from the LA Rams. But hey, this is basically a playoff game. I mean, this is going to be good, man. I'm excited for this. Let's bite some freaking kneecaps. Let's do this. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, we got a pretty good one, man. Lions, Packers. Packers favored by 4.5 at home. It's going to be cold, typical Lambeau Field in January settings. But hey, man, I just never expected either of these teams to be where they're at. The Packers have won 4 straight, and the Lions have gone 7-2 since that game in Week 9. So, man, this is going to be interesting. What are your thoughts on this game overall?
Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited for this one. I've actually been rooting for the Lions a little bit this year. I had a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown and best ball in my regular fantasy leagues, so I've been keeping a little bit of an eye on them. They've been fun to watch. So, and then the other part about this is we don't want to get too early into the narratives or anything, but they have the Detroit Lions have the Rams pick. So regardless of whether or not they're eliminated from the playoffs before this game starts, I think there's a real possibility that they're going to come out and just be a competitive ass team, especially with the way that their head coach is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that real quick. So the way the NFL decided to flex this game to Sunday night is interesting. I mean, this is the game you want to see. So although it does kind of make things weird, because if Seattle wins, that eliminates Detroit from playoff contention. So while these teams are warming up, while these teams are getting ready, they're going to have in the back of their minds, Detroit specifically, what's going on in that Seattle-LA Rams game. Now, if Seattle does win that game, I don't really think that changes much. In fact, I think, I know it sounds weird, but I think that could help the Lions. They come out a little bit looser. They're going to do a lot, they're going to basically play very, very free, carefree, and not have a lot of pressure. And that puts a lot of pressure on Green Bay. Finally, for the first time all year, they have a lot of pressure on them. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what are your thoughts behind, how much do we have to really look into this whole, Seattle winning, not winning thing? And how is that going to affect things?
I don't think it's something we really need to take into consideration all that much. Obviously, if Seattle loses and the Lions have a hope in this game to make the playoffs, I think they're going to come out with a slight bigger edge than they would on the other side. But even then, the pedigree of this team and Dan Campbell, their head coach, is just being crazy, right? This is probably the most important game that Detroit's had, I don't know, in 70 years.
Barry Sanders.
So, yeah. So regardless of what happens, they have an opportunity to knock Green Bay out of the playoffs. And for this head coach and this team, that's a lot to build off of coming into next season, especially owning probably a top 5 pick.
I think that actually wasn't there a Matt Stafford playoff game years ago, maybe a wild card game? I don't know. Funny enough, is Matt Stafford going to play this weekend for the Rams? I don't know. I don't even know, but that would be pretty hilarious if Matt Stafford helped his old team make the playoffs. That'd be pretty interesting. Anyways,
I actually think I saw something on Twitter that said that he was able to come back for that game. I don't know if this was a real quote or not, but it said, one way or another, I'm going to get Detroit to the playoffs. So, he might actually want to help Detroit get there.
Well, all right. So we're recording this the day before. So obviously, when you're watching this LA Ram Seattle game's probably happening as you're watching this, or it's just ended. So we don't know all the details there. But anyways, let's get back into this game. Detroit traveling into Green Bay, obviously cold. It's going to be between 20s to 30 degrees. Not a lot of wind, or there's no snow in the forecast, so it should just be a normal cold day. But still, hey, I think that favors Green Bay. Even though Detroit's a cold city, team, they still play in that dome. This is a 49.5 point total and minus 240 for Green Bay here. I think that Detroit can win this game. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Green Bay is going to come out. I think you're going to see Aaron Rodgers step up a bit and show that old MVP Aaron Rodgers. But I think Detroit, there's a world where Detroit can win this game. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, man. I actually think Detroit wins this game outright. what I've seen from Green Bay hasn't been consistent enough. I know they have Aaron Rodgers and they have Mike LaFleur, and they've been consistent over the past couple of years. They've been 13-3 pretty much every season. And then I think you have some crazy stat about their December and January records, right? But
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know. I don't
15-1. I think. I think they're Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur are like 15-1 or something.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
yeah,
It does.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They've been performing pretty well, but this season hasn't been their season, right? They're not that 13-3 team that we've seen from them. They don't have Devontae Adams out there to make those impact clutch performances. Like, it's one thing to be an elite receiver week to week, but doing it in games that matter is a completely different conversation. So Detroit has nothing to lose. They have everything to gain by knocking the shit out of Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, like, this could be a shifting point in this division where the Packers 25 years of domination really kind of shifts. Detroit's the young stud team. You got Chicago coming up. So I think that this is a big game for the division too. I really think Detroit wins this game.
Yeah, and Minnesota, obviously, Green Bay absolutely smacked Minnesota last week. Green Bay, to me, is like one of these scary teams that are peaking at the right time and can absolutely destroy one of these higher seeded, teams next weekend in the playoffs. All right, let's get into the injuries here. Not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere.
You've got some guys on the Lions, questionable. Some cornerbacks, some safeties. You got a center that's questionable. Really not a whole lot to talk about DFS-wise here. You got Jose DeGuara, questionable on the other side. I don't know that we're interested in him really that much, but that could open up a little bit more snaps for, Mercedes Lewis or something like that. So really not a whole lot to talk about here. Anything else jump out to you?
No, I mean, Jeff Okudah, if he doesn't play, I think that that impacts Detroit defensively, but they're not spectacular there anyway. So nothing else.
All right, well, let's get into this breakdown then.
Break it down.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers is 10.4K, Jared Goff 9,600. Now, the interesting thing to talk about here is during this win streak for Aaron Rodgers, he hasn't really been like lighting it on fire. They've won 4 straight games, but look, they've won 4 straight games. 3 of those games were Chicago, the Rams, and Miami without Tua. And obviously they had an impressive win against Minnesota, but they're getting help in the schedule scheduling helped them out at the end of the year here. My point here is, look, Green Bay, there's a path that Green Bay wins this game convincingly, and maybe Aaron Rodgers doesn't have an incredible game. I don't think that that's the case because this Detroit defense, the pass defense, is not good. And I think that Aaron Rodgers can really take advantage of that in this game. All his wide receivers are starting to come together. He's starting to get on the same page. So, interestingly enough, I think this might be a 2-quarterback situation in a lot of cases. I even like a guy like Jared Goff at captain at 9,600. So what are your thoughts between these two guys? Are you prioritizing these guys? Are you setting any rules? Like, what do we do here?
Yeah, man. Look, I think it's simple. You got to prioritize both these guys. Aaron Rodgers, simply from the perspective of if you just look at last week was an outlying performance from defense and special teams. They were up like 28-0 or something like that. Just from defensive touchdowns and a couple pick sixes. So he still got to 17 points despite the team performing, right? So I think this is a game where even Jared Goff and the way that the Lions offense operates, that there's enough value that you can comfortably play both quarterbacks and comfortably play Amon-Ra St. Brown as well as Aaron Jones, as long as you're comfortable playing some of these cheaper guys, which, we talk about pretty consistently. I am. And this is one of those teams in the Lions that you should kind of be more comfortable playing. These are guys that you're going to see score pretty easily. And honestly, I think the pricing is soft on this slate. Jared Goff should probably be closer to 10-2, and maybe Aaron Rodgers closer to 10-8, 11,000. Honestly,
yeah.
With the value that you have here, this is a both quarterback slate. But to get unique, I think you might be fine fading Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be chalky. Everybody's going to want to play him because it's a win and get in situation for him. So, we've seen Aaron Rodgers over the past 15 years be excellent. So, get different. You handcuff the running backs on the Packers side and stack up the pass game. I think that's going to be a unique build side tonight or tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions offense here, 27 points per game, which is fifth in the league, and they're third in yards per game. They have a pretty high-powered offense. A lot of that volume goes to their wide receivers in the pass game, and this team runs the ball a lot. So to me, this is a situation where the Packers defense has looked good. In the last 4 games, they've held opponents to under 21 points. But like I said, 3 of those games were against not so good competition. Had a great week last week against the Vikings. I don't know how much you look into that. Maybe the Vikings just came out and just had a dog shit game. It happens. But I think the Packers defense is trending up. I don't know if it's going to be enough to stop this high-powered Lions offense. I just don't. Although you got a guy like Yair Alexander who absolutely shut down Justin Jefferson last week. That's going to help out a lot. But one thing to talk about here is the Detroit line is pretty good offensive line. They're not giving up a ton of sacks. And Jared Goff is pretty damn good against the blitz this year. He's thrown 15 touchdowns versus 4 interceptions. And guess what? The Packers love to blitz. So this could be an interesting sort of big play opportunity for both of these teams. All right, let's go to running backs. Let's start with Green Bay. This is a little bit easier to talk about here. At the beginning of the year, this is a 1A, 1B situation according to the coach. It didn't start out that way. A.J. Dillon was not looking good, but lately, during this win streak, during the period of time that they've looked good, he has also looked pretty good. That's probably not a coincidence. Getting a guy like A.J. Dillon active is probably incredibly important, especially in a game like this where last time these teams played, it was a 15-9 win, I think, by Detroit, and they shut down the run game. The run game was pretty much shut down in that game. They sold out, and Aaron Rodgers bailed them out with a couple of interceptions on the 1-yard line. So in a situation like this, in a game like this, you have to think that Aaron Rodgers is playing a little bit better. He's probably not going to allow that to happen if this run game gets shut down. But I think it plays off of each other. I mean, this Detroit run defense is not like spectacular. So I think Aaron Jones at 10K, I think A.J. Dillon at 6,800 have incredible chance of paying off that salary. And I really like lineups with both of these guys. I like putting Aaron Jones at captain or vice versa, and throwing the other guys in flex. So what are we doing here with both of these guys? You got to like both of them together, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Look, I think you need to have a decent exposure to Aaron Jones, and I think you need to have a healthy exposure to A.J. Dillon. Both guys have been getting into a groove lately. And take away the 5-point performance from Miami for Aaron Jones, and those numbers are pretty solid, especially for a showdown slate. Even that 10-point performance, probably going to need a little bit more out of him on a slate like tonight. But Aaron Jones is going up against a tough defense, or a middling defense when it comes to stopping the run. So
yeah,
they're going to get their volume, and we say this pretty consistently, but when you want to keep explosive offenses quiet, you give the ball to your running backs. Cold weather, getting ready for the playoffs. Feed Aaron Jones, feed Aaron Dillon. Or AJ Dillon. What'd you call him when you were texting me earlier?
Quadzilla, dude. I mean, this is the perfect game script for an AJ Dillon captain 2-touchdown 100-yard game. This is the perfect game script. Week 18, end of a long season, cold weather at Lambeau Field. You have the biggest, strongest dude on the field getting the ball handed off in the red zone. Over time, I really think that they need to feed this guy 15 plus times in this particular game. And typically speaking, you'd want to see him get 20 carries in a game like this. But with splitting carries and things like that, I think A.J. Dillon gets a lot of the in-between tackle runs. And so it's sort of boom or bust. He may be touchdown dependent. And at 6,800, I worry about the inside the tackle running against this Detroit team. But outside, with Aaron Jones, we know how they use him. He's going to get 4 or 5 PPR points just by default almost. And those are just like run plays for them. So they're gonna do a lot of weird little pop screen passes to him. They're gonna run him outside a lot. So I think the higher upside is clearly Aaron Jones, but the game script really fits a guy like A.J. Dillon to absolutely go off. But like I said, I think it is a little bit riskier because you're probably going to need at least 1 touchdown at a guy like A.J. Dillon because he's just not getting involved in the pass game. As well, he shouldn't. He's a big dude. Just run him the ball. All right.
And Just real quick, one more thing on this. Like, I think it's easier to take the backs, handcuff them, or even just play one or the other and grab Aaron Rodgers and not have to try and choose from the wide receiver core, right? Because we don't know. I mean, Christian Watson, yeah, he could get hot and have 3 touchdowns, but it's harder to predict which wide receiver
Yeah.
on the Packers is going to get that run. But we know both these backs will, and
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers will get us the points for the wide receivers.
Exactly. Now let's go to Detroit. This is kind of a clusterfuck. I mean, DeAndre Swift, beginning of the year, we all thought he was going to be the fantasy darling. Well, it turns out Jamal Williams is the king of 1 yard touchdowns. This dude has, what, 15 touchdowns this season, most of which were 1 yarders or 2 yarders. You don't have a ton of big explosive plays coming from him, although last week he did have a couple of those plays. DeAndre Swift is 7,600, Jamal Williams 7K. And then you got a guy like Justin Jackson at 200, which kind of interests me because he's projected around 5 fantasy points. So what do we do with these running backs? Everybody, I think, I don't know how it's going to go ownership wise. Like, are people just going to plug in Jamal Williams because they see this 25 last week? But the guy is incredible. Minus that, I mean, he's incredibly touchdown dependent. If you don't get a 1 yard touchdown out of him in a game like this, you probably don't expect him to get over 100 yards rushing or have any big receiving opportunities. So what do we do with these two guys, man? This kind of scares me. I don't know where to go. The other situation on the other side, that's easy for me, but this not so much.
Yeah, man. Look, I think just this entire Lions offense is the epitome of just GPP play, right? I think both Swift and Williams are excellent captain options just because of where they are in price, and they're very boomer bust, right? You're going to probably get a middling performance, but if not, you're going to get something like Jamal Williams with 15 carries, 15 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So I mean, he's not necessarily getting the yardage, but those games where he gets those touchdowns, it matters, and he's getting multiple touchdowns, 3 times. So and he's getting volume. It's not like he just needs to break one against a shitty defense. So look, I think Jamal Williams is an excellent play captain. I think DeAndre Swift is an excellent play captain. Both guys are going to get involved. DeAndre Swift's going to get involved in the pass game a little bit more. And, again, these are both explosive backs. We saw Jamal Williams when he was in Green Bay. Remember, not to get too caught up in a narrative here, but, A.J. Dillon replaced him. So this could be one of those revenge type situations. But look, I think you prioritize Swift and Williams at the captain option. Flex, maybe at 7K and 7,600, they are pretty middling on the price. So if they get 10, 11 fantasy points, that might be enough to be the optimal. And then I'm interested in Justin Jackson at $200. I mean, he's projected for 4 or 5 points, which I don't see anything wrong with. And I mean, look, his median output looks closer to 6, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like,
this is
I think he's fine.
This is a misprice, dude. I just feel like he missed last week. He was priced all the way up to 2K in a showdown slate. He missed last week. He comes back this week. I think it's just an oversight. I mean, he was at $200 in week 13. I think, like, I don't love him as like an incredible option, but if you don't cap him in your optimizers, he's probably going to end up in a shitload of your lineups because that $200 with about a 5 projection, that looks pretty good on paper. Don't know if he'll pay it off, but we've seen him score 10 fantasy points. Hey, that could be an option. Now, obviously, if both of these running backs are healthy, you're probably only going to expect like 15 to 20% of the snaps. So you really got to get a couple of long receptions or something out of the backfield from him to pay off. But it's $200, man. If you get a 0 from a $200 guy and you have an incredibly unique, high raw point lineup, it might not matter. You might be okay still. That's why it's kind of worth the risk in a lot of these cases. All right, let's see. You want to go to wide receiver? You're all done on this side?
Yeah.
All right, so the wide receivers here for Detroit get a ton of volume in this offense. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown at 11K. He's expensive and he's worth it. He's one of the top wide receivers in the league. I mean, if this guy was on if this guy was on the Packers or if he was on the 49ers or something, we'd be talking about him a lot more. Maybe this is his time to shine, man. Maybe he can get a playoff run and really put his name out there. He's 11K. He's expensive. Now, how much is he going to go up directly against Jair Alexander? I don't know. Ella, you sent me like an interesting text with some stat information about where Alexander guards, and does he shadow players a lot, or are you expecting him to just stay to one side or stick to his scheme in this game?
So it looks like he's shadowing about 54% of the time. But here's the thing: is he's still an outside corner. He's not playing slot corner. Amon-Ra St. Brown is more of a slot receiver. He's going to go in motion and kind of break out that way.
Yeah.
His primary cover corner will probably be Rasul Douglas, who hasn't necessarily been spectacular this year, statistically wise. Like, obviously, he's making an impact on the defense as they continue to get better. But look, I don't think we overthink this. Amon-Ra St. Brown is their best wide receiver. You can get to him, still play both quarterbacks and Aaron Jones, and have a chalky captain. So like I'm not gonna overthink it. I'm gonna have a shitload of exposure to him. I think the way that you get different is you force instead of everybody's gonna be 3-3 or 4-2 with Packer stacks, right? Maybe you only grab two Packers and you actually just load up on this offense. You get different by getting ASB and then DJ Shark, Josh Reynolds, or Khalif. Right? Rotate in one of these wide receivers plus somebody else. Get one of the tight ends too. But look, I'm going to get as much of ASB as I possibly can. DJ Shark, I mean, can you pull him up real quick? I think he had a long touchdown.
Yeah,
Was it 2 weeks ago?
people are sleeping on DJ Chark, man. Like overall this year, his snap rate, he's getting on average 72% of the snaps. He's running just as many routes as Amon-Ra. His air yards are off the chain, and his target share is 15% or 14% target share this year. He's quietly kind of resurrecting his career. You kind of forgot about this guy after he left Jacksonville. He's having a pretty good year, man. At 5,800, you just cannot forget about a guy like DJ Chark, man. He's a captain option too, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. He was really good last year. Like this is just chaos of the Urban Meyer legacy and all that, right? Like he's moved around and they made their changes, but he's a very good wide receiver. He was dominating all year last
Yeah.
year. So again, like in the right spot, he could absolutely crush it at 5,800. I mean, he's an excellent captain option, especially on a slate where we want to pay up for some dudes. But just continue down the list here. I think every single one of these guys in play, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, both those guys are great salary options. They're gonna give you a lot of flexibility. And again, I just think these guys are mispriced. They should probably be closer to 3K, every one of them, just because they all have explosive upside. And that includes Jamison Williams at 2,400. He's going to be very low on projections, mainly because he hasn't played all year. But this guy might be faster than Jalen Waddle. There's a reason why they took him so high in the draft and put him on IR. Like, he's really good. And at 2,400, nobody's going to play him. I think he's an excellent GPP dart throw for a long touchdown.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's go to the other side here. Green Bay wide receivers. This is always interesting, right? Christian Watson, we know his upside. He's 9K. You got to think he's overtaken Alan Lazard as like the number one option on this team. Lazard, 7,400. He has a lot of upside. He's a big play guy. He's a red zone guy. Throw it to the back corner of the end zone. Let him just go up and catch the ball. That's kind of who he is. But he's had a little bit of a disappointing season. He's 7,400. Romeo Dobbs, 5,200. Nothing really to write home about with him. Randall Cobb at 3,600. I do like him. Look, when shit gets serious and you really need a dude, Aaron Rodgers is going to be looking for Randall Cobb in some of these third down situations, especially in the red zone. These guys have played together for so long. He's really the one constant pass catcher on this team that you can really trust. So I know that his numbers haven't looked great recently. I don't give a shit, man. This is one game season basically. I like him at 3,600, and then Samori Toure at 200. You can sprinkle him in, but I think there's better options. So what are your thoughts here, man? I feel like in a game like this, going up against this bad of a pass defense, you have to have one of these guys. And I don't think that they're going to be super, super popular. You're probably looking at Christian Watson as like the most popular guy, maybe around 30%, 35%, right? So if you can really capture at least one of these guys that's gonna go off, because I think one of them will, that's gonna be really important. So what are your thoughts on these guys? Who's your favorite here?
I think honestly my favorite is Christian Watson, and that's just because of his pricing at 9K. I mean, I think he's a very interesting captain option. He's got more of those explosive games, and they're just very peak and valley type performance, right? 2, 10, 8, and then 24, 24, 35. So I love him at captain. I think he's going to be a decent pivot off of some of the chalkier stuff, and then he gives you a little bit more flexibility. Aaron Jones probably going to be 55% owned, right? So if you fade him and just go with Rodgers, Watson, and I don't know, maybe even another Randall Cobb, I think that's another interesting way to get different. But beyond that, I don't know if I'm going to have much Lazard exposure. He just hasn't been there for me this season. I don't know why. I feel like people see him kind of like Gabe Davis. Like these dudes had a couple like really good games,
Yeah.
but just haven't done much consistently in the NFL. So
yeah, you're
I
right.
don't think I'll be getting too much Alan Lazard. I think I'd rather just get up to Christian Watson. I think Romeo Dobbs is an interesting kind of dart throw. Him and Aaron Rodgers kind of seem a little off sync some of the previous weeks. If they connect on one of those bigger plays, like he is going to put up fantasy points one of these days. So at 5,200, I think he's interesting. And again, the Detroit Lions pass defense sucks. So you want an explosive guy who has the ability to take off the defense. But real quick on Randall Cobb. So they already lost once to the Lions this season. If say they go into halftime down by 10 points, the Packers do. Randall Cobb might be the only person on this team that Aaron Rodgers can look at and say, I'm not fucking losing to the Lions, and then come out the second half and, not get swept by the Lions this season, right? I know that we don't get too much into narratives, but like that shit matters in football.
Yeah.
And I like Randall Cobb at 3,600. I think you're the way to prioritize these wide receivers is Watson and then Cobb at 3,600.
Look, it's really interesting because I know we've all heard that soundbite where Aaron Rodgers to the Bears, I own you, I own you. Well, he owns Detroit too. I don't know what the record is off the top of my head, but I can promise you he absolutely destroys Detroit. I know it's a division rivalry. Anything can happen. But you got to think that has to factor in a little bit. Just having the confidence knowing that we kicked this team's ass a lot. I know we lost earlier in the year, but that was a fluke. All right, let's go to tight ends here. So this is interesting on both sides. There's a lot to talk about here. Robert Tonyan, 5K. Yeah, kind of interesting. I think he'll be around 10 to 15% owned. He's probably not going to be very high owned at all. He did have a pretty good week last week with 14 fantasy points. He scored a touchdown, but he's very touchdown dependent. He's not a guy that I'm really interested in at captain because his ceiling is so low and he's at 5K. I need a guy that could probably score 2 touchdowns. I don't know that that's him. DeGuara here is questionable. He's 200, and you got a guy like Mercedes Lewis. I'm telling you, man, every time we do a showdown slate, I'm like, play Mercedes Lewis in one lineup because he does have that touchdown upside at 600. And we also saw him. He caught a nice long pass in week 17. That was the last time they have any stats on him, but he caught that long pass in that game. I think it was like a 30-yard catch or something, and then he had a touchdown. Anyways, there's value to be had on the other side, but what are your thoughts on these tight ends? Are you more interested in playing the wide receivers on this team?
Yeah, but look, simplify it. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Any one of these guys is in play if you think that they're going to see the field. Tanyan at 5K, probably a little too expensive for me, but instead of a kicker, maybe throw him into a lineup or two. DeGuara, again, $200, 0 from him really doesn't hurt that much. Gives you some flexibility. And then can you make like a soundboard and just play sound bites for your Mercedes Lewis thing? Because like you literally have said it even when he was on Jacksonville and we were doing that shit like 2 years ago, you're like, I'll play Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, the dude's old as hell. He's there to block. He's there for a leadership role, but every once in a while they'll throw him a bone and he'll catch it. All right, let's go to the other side here. So this is absolutely crazy here. So Shane Zylstra 2 weeks ago had 3 freaking touchdowns. Absolutely nuts. 25 fantasy points. That's just crazy. Last week, Brock Wright had 2 touchdowns. You don't see it here on the stats, but he did have 2 touchdowns last week. So these two dudes, Zylstra's 1K, Brock Wright is 3K. The chances of them having a multi-touchdown game again are probably very low, but you got to talk about these guys here. Is Shane Zylstra like one of the best salary dart throws on this slate with his upside?
Yeah, no, look, I'm not, I don't think anybody should anticipate another 3 touchdown game. I think his ceiling probably be around 8 to 10 points, but at 1K, that's a significant ceiling, right? Like that's pretty awesome value. But I think both these guys are in play. I think whoever really gets the official start. But this comes back to like scheme, right? The Packers suck at stopping the run. If bad teams at stopping the run are more susceptible to the play action, which Jared Goff just happens to be the number one play action quarterback in the league this year,
Yep.
right? What's one of the easiest like we've all run this shit on that play action goal line play in Madden.
Oh yeah.
You have like 3 tight ends, you have one going out into the flat, the corner, and then right. Look, it's one of the easiest dump off passes for a quarterback to make.
Yep.
And that's why these guys are getting those touchdown opportunities in the red zone. So look, I think you got to play one of these guys in a lot of lineups just because, and this includes the value includes Reynolds and Cleve Raymond as well. But you got to rotate some of these pieces in there because they are going to get significant run and opportunities in the red zone.
I know this sounds stupid, but instead of a Jamal Williams 1-yard touchdown, if you're fading Jamal Williams in a lineup, maybe you throw one of these tight ends in instead, because these guys would be the ones who benefit from a vulture. It wouldn't necessarily be Swift. It would probably be a play action pass touchdown to one of these dudes. All right, so let's get into our kickers and defense here. So Mason Crosby, 4,200. Michael Badgley, 4K. I don't care. I don't know. I think just be with the field. I don't think there's any reason to not play these guys. I get that it's cold. You know, maybe a 50-plus yarder is going to be a little bit harder in the cold like this, but who knows, man? Just go with the field, I feel like, right? I'm not doing any captains. I'm not doing any double kicker lineups necessarily. This is a high total game, and yeah, they'll probably get extra point opportunities, but this is a do or die game. I don't know that maybe these coaches don't play it safe and they go for it more, on these 4th and on 3 opportunities, like on the 35-yard line. I don't know. What are your thoughts on these kickers?
Yeah, man. I think there's better value. I think I'd rather play Khalif Raymond and then use that other 2K somewhere else. So that's pretty much where I'm at. That means one of these kickers would probably be optimal. But I think I'm going to come in way under the field if I have exposure to any. I won't have more than one.
Defense, any interest in defense? Packers 3,800. They had a great game last week. We know what they can do. They could cause turnovers. I mean, you got to think a little bit maybe about a $3,800 Packers, throwing them into a couple of lineups. I know it's a high total, but still, the Packers can give up 30 points, real life points, and still get you 10 fantasy points potentially on a couple sacks and a couple of maybe a pick six. So thoughts here on defenses. I know we're spoiler alert, we're probably both fading these defenses, but I think you could probably get 1 or 2 lineups in with the Packers defense, right?
Yeah, the Packers, don't forget about their special teams. Their kick returner, punt returner, he's probably the best in the NFL.
Yep.
We saw it last week. He will take out anything. So Packers are fine at 3,800. I would prefer to play him over Mason Crosby, or the Packers defense over Mason Crosby.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe we should have faded the kickers. I don't know. All right, let's get to our captain option. This is our favorite captain on DraftKings. We're going to crown their ass.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Ellie, you're going Jamal Williams, revenge game here, the 1-yard king. I'm going with Aaron Jones because simply Aaron Jones is one of these guys that shines in the prime time. On Sunday Night Football, you turn the lights on, this dude is one of these guys that could come out and have 4 touchdowns. And he's the type of guy that it's so random with him. Why did Aaron Jones get 60+% of the snaps? Well, he's on fire and they kept feeding him. That could be a situation here. Aaron Jones, he's expensive, but you have that raw point upside with him, and I don't think he's going to be like the highest owned captain. So I do think he's a pretty good option. So talk to me about Jamal. What are your thoughts? Are you thinking that he can bust out two rushing touchdowns? Is that your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of volume that he gets within the red zone is insane. And then he's priced so soft that even if he ends up with 12 to 15 fantasy point output, the raw points you're going to be able to accumulate in some of the other spots might be enough to get it done. Now, just real quick, mention some other guys. I think don't sleep on AJ Dillon, right? DeAndre Swift, and then Christian Watson is a very interesting one. And then obviously you can swap out Aaron Jones for Amon-Ra St. Brown at with the high price guys.
Yeah, and I do think Jared Goff actually is a pretty decent captain option at that price. Usually these quarterbacks are pretty optimal type plays at captain. Usually I don't mess with them because I usually think they're over owned, but in this case he might not be owned what he should be in the captain spot. And you're looking at a guy who's relatively cheaper than Aaron Jones, and can get you there in the pass game. All right, let's go to our fade.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
So look, after talking a little bit more, I do think I'm going to not play as much defense, obviously, but I don't hate the defenses in this slate. I just don't know that I'm going to be able to get to much of them because there's a lot of pretty good value. So the reason why we both kind of went with defense is, well, this is a high total game. These are two high-powered offenses with kind of not so great defenses. But there still is a chance that you should probably sprinkle a couple of these in. But I'm not going to be with the field, I don't think. I don't know what the ownership projections are at right now, but you got to think that the Packers defense maybe 15% owned. What do you think? Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, probably. I still think that's too high. Like, let's put it this way: even though I might have some exposure to the Packers special teams just because of their kick returner, they will still be lower on than kickers for me. Like, I don't think I'm going to play either of the positions.
And that's the thing is they're so low owned potentially that it might, you're not going to get first place if they absolutely get you 20 fantasy points or something. But your night isn't necessarily over because I don't think they're going to be super high owned in a game like this. All right, let's get to our lineup build here. We're going to build a handful of lineups together. We just hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We're going to be giving away 2 $50 DraftKings gift cards in our Discord. So you could scan this below, or you can hit up the description below and click that link. It's free to join. We've got a ton of alerts set up in there for injuries, and obviously we're going to be talking about, as things come up on this slate, some changes that may be made if there's different inactives or something like that. Join that Discord. We're going to give that away. We got to figure out when we're going to give those away. In the next couple of days, we will. So hit up that Discord and we'll get more information on that. So let's hit the button and see what happens. Amon-Ra St. Brown at captain. Justin Jackson. See, there's that $200 guy. Josh Reynolds, Goff, Aaron Jones, and Aaron Rodgers. I don't love this lineup. I mean, it's a decent GPP lineup. You got Goff, Reynolds, Amon-Ra St. Brown with the value of Jackson there. Let's build our own cash lineup. What do you think about that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Who are you thinking at cash for captain?
I mean, look, I would probably run Aaron Jones, but let's see who's maybe.
It might be Amon-Ra.
Who's the chalkiest captain?
I don't know. We don't have any ownership projections yet.
You're right.
But I think Aaron Jones is probably the safest bet. But Amon-Ra St. Brown with the PPR, I mean, you could still get there. I would go with Aaron Jones, me personally. Let us know down in the let us know in the comments what you guys think is the best sort of. I mean, you could go with Jared Goff, you could go with Aaron Rodgers, but I think Aaron Jones is the way to go. Do you want to? I mean, can we handcuff in our cash build here?
Yeah, do it.
I think AJ Dillon is popping with projections. I mean, I really do think. I mean, I got like 65% of him with no settings at 150 lineups. I think he's popping pretty good. Now let's go with. Do you want to go both quarterbacks here? Are we going to be able to do that, or maybe you go Aaron Rodgers and go with Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't know. What do you think?
Throw in Amon-Ra.
All right, 6,800. So you're probably looking at kickers and things like that, right? Who's the best value? Do you like the Justin Jackson as value, or is there somebody else?
Let's see. Probably
Mason Crosby here, right?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Mason Crosby.
So 2,600. What does that get us? This is a little tough. Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. I mean, Josh Reynolds is was a pretty decent option. I don't know that I'm wanting to play him in cash. I really don't. Could we not play Aaron Rodgers here? Or
you got to put in Goff though.
Yeah, put in Goff. I think that's actually okay. That leaves us with 3,400. Brock Wright. Not quite
I
Randall
think that's
Cobb.
fine for GPP. I don't know if I would run that for cash,
No,
but
exactly.
if you put in Brock Wright, that's fine.
What if we pulled out AJ Dillon in this situation?
Yeah, I think you pull out AJ Dillon. Let's put in
You could go.
you want to try Josh Jackson and see what we have left over?
Oh yeah, you could go Jamal Williams here, or DeAndre Swift. Either one. You're not really sacrificing. I mean, you're back into that $2,600 range. Probably. I don't know. Jamal Williams here potentially.
Well, I mean, either guy. I mean, you're still probably. I mean, if you go Jamal Williams, you go Brock Wright or Khalif Raymond. And then if you go DeAndre, then you have to go DeAndre Swift. Then you have to go just Khalif Raymond or Josh Reynolds. So I mean, either is fine. I think I would run both.
All right, let's start building our tournament lineups here. That's where we seem to shine. So do you want to do an Amon-Ra real quick since he's the most expensive dude on the slate? See where that goes?
Yeah.
All right, talk to me, Goose. What are you thinking?
Throw in both quarterbacks and Aaron Jones.
Okay. All right.
Let's see, and then I fuck it, throw in Khalif and what does that give us?
1,300. So Zylstra. So you're looking at what, a 4-2 here with Rodgers and Jones. That's interesting. What if we pulled Rodgers and put in? Let's pull Rodgers. Let's pull these.
Put
dudes.
in and put in Dillon.
Yeah, exactly. So Jones, Dillon, and let's get to one of these pass catchers for the Packers. Can we? No, we can't get Watson. I mean, do you want to go Randall Cobb or something here? Or
yeah, let's throw in Cobb.
All right, so we got 3 Packers, 2 Detroit Lions, 3,500. Interesting.
Brock Wright.
Interesting. Brock Wright. So yeah, you're kind of just switching out this last spot with a bunch of scrubs, kind of dart throws. Amon-Ra is nice, but man, that's not as fun to build as I thought. Let's go down to Aaron Jones and build a GPP lineup here. Do we want to fade Aaron Rodgers in this lineup and go with Goff with a couple pass catchers or something?
Well, hold on. So, dude, I'm telling you, the 2-4 is going to be fun. So, hear me out on this one. Throw in both quarterbacks.
Okay.
Throw in ASB.
Okay.
And then, I mean, throw in Khalif Raymond and Zylstra again. Like, I don't mind this. You can even go, if you don't like Khalif Raymond, you can come up and go to who do they have at 2,200? Josh Reynolds.
They've got.
Josh Reynolds is 1,800. So
Jameson,
again, you got a little bit of flexibility. You
can get Jameson Williams there too.
Yep, I like JMO for GPP. I mean, people are going to sleep on him, and all he needs at that price is one open field catch for 70 yards and touchdown.
Let me do a 4-2 here. So Goff, Amon-Ra, and I want to go with, man, that sucks. I mean, you're kind of stuck with like a Cobb. I can't quite get to my boy here, Mercedes Lewis. Man, Aaron Jones. That's not easy either. Let me get rid of Aaron Rodgers here. I want to put in Christian Watson. 5,400. Where do I go here? I can't quite get to AJ Dillon, obviously. I think we're stuck in this sort of mid-range. I don't want to go multiple wide receivers without Aaron Jones or without Aaron Rodgers. What do I do here? I'm stuck.
I mean, like the easy answer is go Mason Crosby, and then what? That's 1,200 left.
Zylstra or something, or Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, get your boy Mercedes.
Yeah,
like that's fine.
Let's move on from Aaron Jones, captain. Let's move on. Let's see what else we can get here. Do you want to do?
Let's do a Goff captain.
All right, let's do it. All right, Goff. Let's jam in Amon-Ra. And let's do one more of his. I mean, is this a DeAndre Swift situation? Maybe you get a couple pass catches, maybe you get a reception touchdown, or is this like a DJ Chark or something like that? You want to double up on the wide receivers here?
Yeah, let's go DJ Shark on this one.
All right.
And then can we do A Rod and A Jones?
Let's do it.
No.
Nope, can't do it. So
let's do Dylan.
Yep, I could see that. 1,600. What does that leave us? Do you want to do a 4-2 here? You want to go like Zylstra or something?
Yeah, that's fine.
Almost got Josh Reynolds. That would have been nice. So switch out this last spot. So you got Goff, St. Brown, Chark, Zylstra with Rodgers. You're basically trying to cover all your bases with Aaron Rodgers and hope he doesn't throw like 2 touchdown passes to the same guy, and then hopefully capture all that rushing on the ground here.
Let's try a 1-5 where we have Goff at the captain and then 5 Packers. Go AJ, Aaron, A-Rod, and then see where we're at.
That's awesome. 8,400. So
go in Randall Cobb.
48. Almost Dobbs.
I mean, you could probably you go Crosby or the kickers or Crosby or defense here.
Yeah,
honestly.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a nice build. Let's move down. Let's build 1 or 2 more captains here. So what about AJ Dillon captain? Do you want to run that because that might be a lot easier?
Yeah, let's do it.
So what are your thoughts? Do you want to fade Aaron Rodgers in this lineup with AJ Dillon?
Yeah, and then go Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Let's go Aaron Jones. We got Goff. Let's put in, can we get Amon-Ra St. Brown? We probably can. That still leaves us 9,200. So if we punt here, if you go all the way down to Justin Jackson, you got a nice Christian Watson lineup here. So AJ Dillon captain with Aaron Jones and Watson, and then you got Goff with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jackson. That's pretty decent. I mean, look how much easier this is to build with AJ Dillon and captain.
Yeah, man, I like that. What about pulling let's see. Let's throw in DJ Shark now.
Okay. Let's do it. With this right here?
Yeah.
3,400.
I mean,
we're going to have options. We're going to have Green Bay options or Detroit. Brock Wright, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, all these dudes. And Josh Reynolds. You can get all these guys. Pretty nice. If you didn't want to, if you didn't want 3 pass catchers, you could switch out Chark for somebody else. Obviously, AJ Dillon is looking good. You want to do like a 5-1 Packers?
Yeah. So go. I would go Amon-Ra if that's going to be our 1 from Detroit.
Okay.
And then Aaron Rodgers, AJ Dillon.
We got it. Well, we got AJ Dillon captain.
God damn it.
Aaron Jones. So 8,400 here. So we can go like Cobb. We could go Cobb and actually no, we can't quite get to our boy Robert Tonyan here.
What if we pull out ASB and go down to Jared Goff? Can we come up pull out Randall Cobb? Can we afford Watson?
Yeah, we sure can. And guess who else we can afford?
Your boy.
Mercedes Lewis. Dillon, Goff, Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Mercedes Lewis. Hey, I'm liking AJ Dillon at captain. This is pretty nice. I'm asleep better at night playing him, but I don't know that he's, maybe he's going to have a 2 touchdown game in order to pay that off most likely. Where do you want to go? You want to do one more build here?
Yeah, let's do Jamal Williams since that's my captain.
All right, let's do it. Where are you, Jamal? So this is going to be similar builds.
Let's do something a little bit different here because we haven't used him a lot. So let's throw in DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
Let's handcuff the other way.
I like that. That's nice. Let's go Swift.
And then let's go Aaron Rodgers, Christian Watson, Randall Cobb.
No Aaron Jones here?
No Aaron Jones here.
Okay. Randall Cobb, 8,900. Do whatever you want, man.
Damn. Well, if that's
Lazard, you probably want
yeah.
to come off of Cobb. I mean, in theory.
Yeah.
Let me save this lineup here. So you can come up from Cobb. Where would you come up to?
You go ahead and throw in Jones. What does that give us? 2,500.
Yeah, 2,500. So that gets you, your Khalif Raymond. If you want to stick with Packers, you can go to Mercedes Lewis or Patrick Taylor or any of these other dudes here.
Actually, so for GPP, I actually wouldn't mind throwing in like Jamison Williams and then rotating Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, because those are guys that could easily have 2 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that wasn't bad. I mean, it's a little bit. There's what you run into a lot of times is when we have so many options, you're just kind of like, okay, well, what am I gonna do here? So my thought is I'm probably gonna optimize. I'm probably just gonna use optimizer. Maybe I'll hand build a couple more, but I don't know that I'm gonna be hand building a ton. What are you gonna do?
I'll be hand building a lot, man, just because I want to make sure I get the exposures that I need. But I'll use the optimizers to track my overall exposure.
Yeah. All right. So thoughts on final score here. What are your thoughts on your favorite type builds too? Like after seeing the different captains and what we can actually accomplish with some of these higher price guys, what are your thoughts? Like, are you interested in a lot of 2-4s? Are you like, where's that going to end up for you tonight?
Yeah, man, I'll probably be building 2-4s, 4-2s, 1-5s, 5-1s exclusively. It just looked too easy and too fun to have those builds in there. And I really think that that's how this game is going to go. So,
yeah.
Look, with that said, I think the final score here is going to be 34-31 Detroit. And a low-owned guy that I think can score. I'm going to go with Jamison Williams, bro. I've been talking about him the whole show.
Yeah. It's funny. I was going to say 34-30 and Detroit covers. High-scoring game. I think, my boy, I'm going to do it. Screw it. It's a Packers slate. You got to go with Mercedes Lewis scoring that touchdown. So, all right. Well, hey, look, we're done with the show. This am I right about this? This is the last regular season game of the year.
Yeah, there's no Monday Night Football, right?
Nope, no Monday Night Football. So next time you see us, we will probably do another Saturday 2-game slate next week. There's 2 games next Saturday. We'll probably do that, and then we'll do a Sunday Night Football game, Showdown, and then we'll do a Monday Night Football game, Showdown. That's all going to be in the playoffs next week. I'm excited about that, and we're also going to start prepping for XFL content next February, basically the week after the Super Bowl, I think is when that starts. So subscribe if you're not subscribed. Throw us a like. Help get us to 50 likes on this video, and we'll see you guys later.